thank everybody for coming. I hope you got something out of this, our first Master Food Preservers Conference. Notice I didn't say annual, like tomorrow starts our 35th annual Hawaii Tropical Fruit Growers Conference. Oh, leave me alone with the mic already. No, Sharon's back in the corner.
So can we do this annually?
No, I won't. I tell you one thing, I won't be here for the 35th annual Master Food Preservers program.
Really?
Yeah, well, I'd be 140 or something like that.
You can do it, I know.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just got to eat that good. Would you knock it off? You were the one going on and on and on before, and don't worry about the time and leave me alone already. He's my boss. I can talk to him that way. Anyway, I want to thank you all for coming. We will go quickly because we have our HTFG board meeting. If any of you want to be on the HTFG board later on and actually do some work, you're more than welcome. Anyway, yeah, he says stop. She says keep going. No wonder. Well, it's a good thing I'm a Gemini. I can deal with it. Anyway, well, we'll just. The idea is Q&A from the people that you've heard speak today, and hopefully gotten some useful information from. And I really appreciate all you guys coming. I know getting Derek off the second floor at KTA at Winoco is not easy, so that's harder than getting you to come from Georgia or Anita from Oregon and Aletha, of course, from Kauai. Huh? No? All right. I'm turning it over to Jane.
So you heard me speak with the hat of being you heard me speak with the hat of being vice president of the Hawaii Master Food Preserver. In a few minutes, you'll hear me speak as the head of Hawaiian Goodness, my company. But before that, before we break and before everybody breaks, Ken?
Is it dried fruit?
No, it's for. Okay, come on.
What?
So what we.
It's for Roar. Oh.
Oh.
Now I remember.
Now we remember. So, what we like to do before everyone breaks up, and it usually happens when we do the panel and the Q&As, we really, one of the things that has changed about our classes is that we are really, since Ken and I are getting much older, we're really trying to do what's called train the trainers.
Pass the buck.
And train the trainers, it will essentially, it will infiltrate in different sectors. Tina, if she's still, Tina. Thank you. Sorry. Tina, if you heard, she's going to be doing the 4-H program. We have other people doing different kinds of program all over in different islands. So it's really more how can we impart this knowledge, and that's where we are. And it also means what we call disaggregating. So the 8 days that we teach for the certification at this point, we're going to do it one day or one processes. I shouldn't say one day because dehydration takes 2 days. So yeah, and so what we'd like to do is actually one of our first instructors, we have another one, but she's a chef, and so she couldn't make it here today. And she is a full instructor on all of the processes, but she uses the preserving methods for her, for the restaurant, and the restaurant that she chefs for is the Temple Bar. So Jessica couldn't make it, unfortunately, because they opened up Kona Shop, and she's like responsible for both. But who could make it, who is our now bona fide jam and jelly instructor and could go off on his own, and we will bring him in when we have our jam and jelly day, is Rourke. There you go.
So Tina, you got to student teach one more time and tell Jane what color you want.
That's correct.
It's red because
All right.
Yeah.
I'm
The air
more
conditioning
flushed
doesn't
because
work
I'm
well.
embarrassed. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jane. This is so cool.
Thank you, Robert.
You have to wear it till tomorrow.
So now I'm Hawaiian Goodness. So don't ask me about Master Food Preservers. Hawaiian Goodness does dried fruits and fruit roll-ups, and what you've heard from everyone, or what you've heard so far for those of us who've taken the Master Food Preservers class, We didn't go in there thinking we were going to sell. We went in there because we were curious and we wanted to know and make sure that what we were making and giving to friends and family was safe. We didn't want people to get sick. I mean, that's really the basis of it. Some of us move here like myself, we find a lot of fruits and vegetables, but for me it was really fruits, and I'm going, all right, I'm giving my fruit roll-ups away. Well, how do I know it's safe? I kind of feel a little leery about that, and so that's why, and my daughter said, well, why don't you just take a class? This is a person that's teaching the class, who happens to be Ken, and we should just go ahead and take the class. So we did, and little did I know, on first day, you know, for those of us who've taken the class, we tell you what the curriculum is, we tell you what to expect for each day. And then you have a stand-up, essentially oral presentation of teaching everyone how to do whatever you decided you're gonna choose in preserving. And I said, well, I'm gonna do dehydration. And Ken goes, we don't accept dehydration as a bona fide stand-up presentation.
Yeah.
So that was the first class, and I looked at my daughter and I said, I think I need to leave and get my money back, because that's
It
what
was
I
too late
specialize.
for that.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I specialize in. But anyway, lo and behold, a year later, I got the opportunity to actually test my dried fruits and fruit roll-ups at a market. A friend of mine who was already at a farmer's market said, your stuff is really good. Share my booth, no fee. I'm going, oh, no fee. I mean, how do I know it's gonna sell? Everyone says it's good. I don't know that. So then a lot of things come into mind. How do I package it? What's my brand name? And that takes a little while. So, you know, when Aletha talked about how Monkey Pod Jam came along, I'm going, well, what do I call this? Because I don't add any sugar, I don't add any preservatives. And it just so happened that a friend of mine says, this is really good, pure goodness. And I'm going, ooh, okay. So you want it general, because guess what? If you look at my table, I have more than just dried fruit and fruit roll-ups. A lot more, actually, I've developed into that. Okay, that was the first. Then the second is your belief. Now that you're armed with the tools of the master food preserver and you know you think you know what you're doing, how are you gonna make a product? And you've made the products or some products and you go, what are you gonna do with it now? And that's where you think about, oh, who's my target audience? Who am I trying to sell with? What's my brand? I got my brand name, so now what am I gonna sell? Derek talked about, you know, really honing in on making it unique. Well, my uniqueness was no sugar added and no preservatives. But how do I make it stand out? So that's where I, you know, not only developed that, then I started with, and I actually started with commercial stuff, things that I knew people would like. And what I did was essentially model my fruit purees, my fruit leathers, using essentially milkshakes or shakes, fruit shakes, as my model. Because essentially that's what a fruit leather is. You take a shake, a fruit shake, and it becomes a puree. Well, instead of drinking it as a puree, or with ice or freezy or whatever, put it in the hydrator, and you've got yourself a fruit roll-up. How you tweak it is really up to you. So it was kind of, that was the way that I sold. And day one, my products were the fruit leathers that you see, about a little smaller than what you see now, was $1.50 because I didn't know what I was really doing, but I sold $45 worth, which meant I literally had to sell 30 pieces of this. It's not easy in a farmer's market, because if you think about it, you know, it's like 30 pieces is a lot of different pieces, a lot of work. The third thing that I have to think about really is, who are my competitors? If I compete with Betty Crocker and your fruit roll-ups and fruit by the foot, I would never be able to price it accordingly. So that's not my market. What makes my product that much more unique, and how do I price it? It's really, you have to do your cost of production. You've got to think about how much labor you're putting in there. And there's some give and take. You can't put everything. I mean, come on, doing dry fruits and fruit roll-up, I pay myself minimum wage. Do I really want to earn minimum wage? Of course not. But then you price it at minimum wage, and then you see if it works out, because you have to do market research. So now you've got the branding, you've got the test and the feedback, and now you've got cost of production. So all of these, as everyone has mentioned to you, that's a journey. Don't think about it in the very, very beginning only. It's a process. If you get scared, if someone told me then that I would still be doing this 10 years later, I would say, oh, I don't think I want to do it. No, but it's because for me, it's a passion. And I thank Ken for introducing me to a lot of the exotic fruits that I never would have had exposure to, and his tolerating my dehydration habits. And I call it habits because if you talk to me back there, where I progress is that I don't stop at just dehydration. Yes, cut and slice, and I understood where he was coming from. Cut and slice, dehydrate, easy to do. Yes and no. There are science rules behind that. And so, but what I did, it is kind of boring, and some don't dehydrate well. Okay, if they don't dehydrate well, what can I do to make it tasty? And how do I incorporate our flavors, the island flavors in there? I am 100% Chinese, so how do I incorporate my heritage into there as well too? So one of the things that you'll find back there is something called spicy Li Hing pickled mango. It's based off of our pickled mango that when I first came to Hawaii in the 1980s, I can't even remember how long ago, but in the 1980s, we used to see pickled mango in jars on the roadside, not refrigerated. Okay, not refrigerated. And so I remember tasting that, but because of various health rules or whatever, we no longer sell that there. And that's what I modeled it off of. But I can't sell a pickled item, or at least at that point, we've now changed it. But I couldn't sell a pickled item. So I pickled it, and then I dehydrated it. And that's what you'll see back there. So yeah, don't be afraid. But do get some feedback, think about your name, look at your marketing, but most of all, look at your cost of production. And then from the cost, make sure it's affordable for people. Any questions for me? Or we'll take questions after everyone. So I'm gonna give Rourke a chance to speak, since he has, is that?
No, just go down.
Just go down the line?
Liz is last, so go down.
Okay, go down the line. Karen from Maui Food and Innovation.
I'm so sorry, but what was the assignment? What was, what was the assignment? Oh, success stories.
Well,
Okay.
no, I want to just, it's mostly Q&A. but
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
give you a few minutes to.
Talk about it.
Yeah, so let me share a more recent student entrepreneur success stories. So we just had a pitch.
Not too much, because I will. cut
Yeah,
you off.
thank you, Ken. So Maui bone broth as an example of zero waste, okay? So what the entrepreneur, her name is Aya Gantz, is doing, she's very passionate, and she has a story about producing local, staying local, improving, our nutrition of our local kids in schools. And so what is she doing? Zero waste. She's taking what normally would have been discard from Maui Cattle Company or Maui Nui Venison, bringing the bones in, doing her R&D, then creating a venison bone broth as well as a beef bone broth, okay? And then now she's going out and taking all the bones after they've been cooked down, giving them to farmers to put in as fertilizer. So yeah, bone meal, right? So that's something I think that is inspiring in the way that it is intended to meet that vision that the state has of value-added product development, also sustainable and zero waste, right? So for your consideration, it's an example success story. I think that's one for you to be on the lookout for and perhaps take some inspiration from that. Any questions about the Food Innovation Center on Maui?
We'll do the questions.
Oh, later? Okay, well, I'm done,
Oh, hey, maybe-
Okay, I'm early.
It's an extra 30 seconds. Carla.
Well, I was trying to think of success stories. We recently, not recently, last year we got a grant from USDA to help rural farmers in Georgia. And one that I guess comes to mind is a peanut grower. We have a lot of peanut in the state of Georgia, and some of the peanuts that grower was growing and harvesting were not acceptable to the market. And so they were wasting thousands of pounds of peanuts every year. And so what we did, I don't know if you all have had, I had never had boiled peanut before, but it's a thing in the southern region. And so they eat a lot of boiled peanuts. So what can we do with the peanuts that don't look as good for the market? So we boil them and we package them in those flexible pouches. So we can peanut butter in pouches. And so that farmer now is able to boil that peanut, package it, and sell it that way. Before it was just going to waste. So things that we're trying to help the farmers that they have, they're either producing more that they can sell, or the grade that grocery stores or supermarkets are accepting is not the grade that they have, or they would waste otherwise. That's one example, but I don't know. We can save time for questions. I don't have more. Yeah.
Well, one of the things, for agriculture, the reason everything happened is Hawaii agriculture cannot survive without value-added products. When I started to buy all of these things from the farmers, I started to realize, some days that, you're gonna have more lettuce than the other days because of the sunshine and the rain. So what I do is I work very closely with the farmers to control the supply and demand. So when they have a lot, I'll just put it on sale. Same as all my suppliers. When they have a lot or they need a little bit more inventory or cash flow, I'll put it on sale just to help them. So it's a partnership that I have. But one of the things that we have built and helped this pickle farmer is Honda Foods. So what happens is that he uses all local produce in his products. And whenever we have a lot, we'll send it to him, he'll pickle it, and I'll put it on sale. So it's a relationship that you have with your farmers and your manufacturers and everything else. You kind of look at everything as being one big family and working together. And because I'm able at the supermarket, one thing that you can do at the market, the final market, you can control the supply and demand by reducing the price or even making a bigger display, right? Make a bigger display, put a sign or whatever it is going to sell way more than just a small display. So, we're able to control that. So, and finally, throughout all these years, I've really learned a very important lesson. In the beginning, we used to think, okay, take care of customers. Take care of customers, regardless of what it is. But I started to realize lately, you got to take care of employees, and you got to take care of suppliers, and they'll take care of customers. And that makes a little more sense. So thank you.
I shared most of my stories, but one little thing I was wanting to try to earlier, a couple weeks ago, incorporate into my spiel was that this summer my niece came to stay with us for a month. She's a junior in high school, and I'm the eldest again, remember, of 4 girls, and I'm kind of the hippie dippy out of the group, and so I live in Hawaii and all this stuff. And our house sits on a little third of an acre, which is good size for Kauai, and we started raising our own chickens. We have our bougie hens in the back, the 4, and we have our garden with the tomatoes. My husband likes to make sourdough bread, so he always has a starter, and my niece is really interested in culinary. So we try to cook a lot when she comes. And one morning on the weekend, we were having breakfast, and her mom called. And she's like, "Mom, you will never believe what we are having for breakfast. We are having toast that Uncle and I made from sourdough. We made a reduced, we broiled our cherry tomatoes from the garden, and then we used our preserved lemons that we had in the fridge that we had made a couple weeks ago, and we had our eggs were from our chickens." And she just kept going on and on and on about all these things. And she's like, "We grew it, or we made it all." And I was like, and Heidi's, I could just hear on the back of the phone, like, "Of course you did." And so, but I thought, I'm really proud of that. And especially right now, like when food is it's always been political, and it's especially political right now. And for you to take ownership of it and to deal with the potential food scarcity, even in Hawaii, and we are dealing with that. But to be able to grow, we had avocado. She said, "Oh, we have avocado on our toast as well." And we had grown the avocado that she had just picked a couple days prior. And so I think it just keeps sitting with me, and this is like from August. And I keep thinking about that, how excited she was about that, and how to have in your little parcel of land, have enough for your family and to share with others, because we're able to share with others. And that's something we can all do. And this whole Master Food Preserver thing was the catapult to it. And it's been, 15 years in the making, and it's gotten to us, our little family, to where we are today. And I think that's just something I'm really proud of. It's a proud mama moment for me, as far as our family and where we've come from and where we've gone, and hopefully where we continue to go in the future. And so.
So for success stories, I guess we had grant funding from USDA for our regional food business centers. And I've been to a lot of the fancy food shows that have so many amazing food producers. I had never been to one where there was a Native American food that was there at all. And recently, because of funding from USDA for our Food Innovation Center, a lot of our people were able to take their food products through taking a recipe to market. They got to be able to just really see how to get their foods marketed. One person who does an incredible smoked mushroom salt, Food Innovation Center, she didn't spend a lot of time there, but it was the consultation that she had, over a couple hours to really support her. And now she only wants to sell to the Native community, and I respect that. Each seller's different, right? Each business is different, how you want to project and be seen in your community and with your food. And then we had taken her to the fancy food show, and Walmart came through and said, "Hey, we want to sell your product," and she said, "Well, one, I can't do that. Smoking salt is pretty time consuming," and so we know that there's like larger businesses like Walmart and Amazon that want our products, but we also want to keep them, we also want to keep them special. And we had a Native man who makes coffee, and so he uses his indigenous ways to roast the beans, and they are incredibly successful. And now in a short amount of time, he's gone from a little tiny place where he's roasting his beans, and now he needs like 100,000 square feet. It's crazy how fast it's grown, but he also has the backing, and so for me, when I see these amazing food products, here in Hawaii, because Hawaii came and represented in Vegas a couple of years ago, and I think I was telling Tina, like, that chocolate, that purple chocolate, that's like, that's like magic chocolate. Like, it's up there with like Willy Wonka. It's good.
Under the table and the pan after it.
Well, yeah, but so for me, it's how we use these additional how we work with Food Innovation Center, how we work in the community with Master Food Preservers, if that's the route you want to go. But to me, I think we really need to take advantage of what's out there and what we can use and the knowledge that they have, because our knowledge is vast, and eventually our indigenous knowledge, science eventually catches up with our indigenous knowledge. And so it's nice to see when that happens in community.
I'm Rourke Reagan with Conolaw Farms, and I'm so happy to be here today because I've learned a lot, and also for my fellow jam makers, thank you, because it gave me some good ideas. I'm not at that level yet, but like Lizzie was saying, I started out never thinking I was going to do this. I was a teacher. I'm an artist by trade. I taught visual arts for 25 years. And I live in Nalehu. It's a small, really small rural community. And our farmers market, especially back in the day, it's kind of like where you went, right? On Wednesdays or whatever, you could go and you talk to everybody. So I got to know people. I have a killer orange tree in my yard, and I thought, I've always made marmalade. My mom was in a really bad accident when I was a kid. She couldn't walk for a long time, so when I was 9, I had to learn how to cook if I wanted to eat anything decent besides cereal. So, and we lived by an orange orchard in Southern California. Back in the day, it was a big orange town, and I learned how to make marmalade. And back then, there was no internet, so and I think in a way it was kind of good because you followed a recipe that didn't have some Joe Schmo that was just making something that said, oh, you do this on, this and that, and you make it all looks good, right? The photography's good, everything looks smooth, and you're like, it never sets. And to this day, all my friends go, why can't I get my marmalade to set? Why can't I get this to set? I'm like, what kind of packing are you using? What's your sugar ratio? Well, I don't want to use sugar. I want all this and that. Well, there's a lot of things you want in life you're not going to get. And yeah, you could do it, but then you gotta use a different kind of pectin. You might get a little grit in there, that little calcium, that kind of nice mouthfeel. But besides all that, I started making that, and then with COVID, kind of teaching kind of stopped. But food you could sell in the farmer's market. Nalehu was, for a little town, they went up, got a special permit that we could sell during COVID, right when it started, and we were able to do that. And I also hustled. I would go to Hilo, get papayas, trying to sell that, because all of a sudden all of our other people were gone from COVID. A lot of people were really scared too. So then I started my business full time, and I just kept kind of trugging along. That's why I was kind of glad to hear some things today, because I'm wondering kind of what steps to take next to grow. Because with this new law, now I have a website. Now I have that. If I was going to recommend anything with the website, it takes a lot more work. It isn't like, oh, it's so easy, AI is going to do it for you. No, it's going to do some of it for you. You still got to put everything in there. You gotta still do your inventory. None of this magic's gonna happen by itself, and that's it. But the other thing I love is all the different fruits on the island. I loved growing stuff as a kid, and I love tropical fruit. The first time I tasted cherry moya, I thought, man, I went to heaven. This is the best thing I've ever tasted in my life. And then there's soursop, right? I got this little fruit from Ken called sundrop fruit, which is like lilikoi on crack, right? It's like lilikoi meets a peach Jolly Rancher, and it's just incredible to make a jam out of. It's time consuming, but anyhow, that's one of my favorites, and thank you. I'm out of it. It has to.
Ingenious could be solid, not crack. Before I forget, in your bags are evaluations, and if you could fill them out.
There's a stack right on the table as you're leaving on the right by the diseased pressure can chicken.
Or just give them to Reggie up there. Speaking of Reggie, I would like to thank him, even though he's here for tomorrow's conference. I would like to thank him because he gave us the paper and the pens and all the water bottles and all the little stuff inside the bag. So, yeah, thanks. So now I just want to open it for questions. If you have any, Mark, I should have known. Oh, use the mic.
So Alethea, the question is, can you walk me through your example with the green tomato piccalilli? Because that's something that nobody knows what it is, and yet you said that got to be one of your biggest sellers.
That's a classic from the
Wait.
No, piccalilli.
I mean, I grew up with it, so.
Yeah, but that's you. That's a
Yeah,
Chicago thing.
I know, and it's so easy to preserve, pickle relish. So.
But he asked me. So piccalilli, it's a southern thing. So it's a green tomato relish. So we took under the big fat green tomatoes. If we're not going to make fried green tomatoes, we put them through the dicer or hand dice them. We would add some. I believe we added a bunch of peppers to it, and onion.
Yeah, but how do you get people to buy
Oh, buy it? Oh, you stick it in their mouth. We sample. So I know not all farmers markets allow sampling, but that was always, I would weed out, I never went to a farmer's market that would not allow sampling.
So sampling is really important.
It is everything. So at our,
That's the answer.
car farmers markets, shop with, if you ever take a brick and mortar, you have someone up there, now you're trying this, and you will sell at least a case. And you will sell a case over and over and over again. Have them sample.
Sample, there you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Can I add something to that? You know, another thing that I think really works out, because I do the man in the pan cooking and stuff like that. If I can use some value-added stuff in my recipes and cooking something to make things easier, I mean, it's like a no-brainer to sell stuff.
I mean, what Derek and Lisa both said is right, but I just want to clarify that it depends, not depends on the items, but our Hawaii Department of Health allows you to sample so long as you don't modify the product when you're actually doing the sample, meaning that you're not adding anything to it. It's also a shelf-stable product that you're sampling, and the jar is open and fine. It's, you know. You cannot sample TCS or time temperature control items, even if they're from a certified kitchen. You cannot sample fresh fruit. You're not allowed to cut fresh fruit at the farmer's market. So there are some restrictions. It's not like all over the place. There are rules and regulations. Now, having said that, sampling is a huge factor for selling. What distinguishes your product from every other product? That's why I said dry fruits and fruit roll-ups. Everyone that comes to my market who hasn't tried my dried fruits and fruit roll-ups, the first perception is, ugh, no sugar added, no preservative. It's going to be horrid. Until they put it into their mouth and go, whoa, it tastes like fruit. Duh, you're eating fruit. So it's a no-brainer. If I didn't do the sample and website may not work for me, because it's very hard in a website to distinguish what I is. And then in the mail, you're gonna get this really thin packaged fruit roll-up that costs you $3.50, and you go, that's it? So the perception is really hard to fight sometimes of what the consumers have. And you know, that's a choice that I may be making, so not to, and it's something that I've made a decision, I'm not gonna go into retail. I'll just kill myself. I'm the only one that produces. My daughter does the marketing for me, but she doesn't do much of the production. So, anybody else? Any other questions? Anthony.
Yeah, my question's for, I guess, just Rourke, since you kind of answered it. I was going to ask you as well, for the homemade producers up here, what are your plans for scaling? Like, how big do you want to get? Do you want to go into retail locations now that you're allowed to?
Let's kind of asked this a little bit earlier, and right now until after the holiday season, I'm seeing what happens a little bit. The whole economy feels like it's changing a lot. You know, if I do retail, I'm losing about 33%, but I'm not paying a booth fee. I'm not paying the gas. I mean, either way you're paying something, right? It's part of your cost of production. So I'm looking at the business relationships I can have with those people. I'm in one little store up in the Captain Cook area right now, just selling some barbecue sauce and things. It's a nice little addition, but I'm a one-man show right now, so I don't have an employee. So it's kind of, I want to be able to make sure if I scale up, I can supply stuff correctly, so I don't have pie on my face. And I started my webpage, and it's funny because I feel like every 2 weeks it's growing more. Like someone's like, I'm not hearing anything, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, boom, boom. And that's what I'm saying with the website. I gotta make sure to pay attention and really update that inventory, because if I don't, and I don't have the system where it does every single thing, because you know I sell in farmers markets, right? There's a lot of cash, there's a lot of stuff, and you're like, you get home, you're really tired, right? Because you wake up you leave at 4 in the morning, because the Big Island's big. If I Lalehu, I go to Waimea, it's a long drive. And you forget, and all of a sudden people order, and I had this mistake the other week. I got an order for some of my relish. I'm all out of relish, but it was still on the website. But she was really nice. I explained to her, and she said, I can wait. But there's other people that don't like to wait. And so that's where I'm seeing where to go. Do I want to go more website? Do I want to go more retail? I want to do the farmers market, It's fun. I like the socialization. I don't know if I want to do all of them, and if I get an employee, that's where I want to start first before having somebody in the kitchen where I'm going to have to deal with workman comps issues and have a lot more cost versus hiring somebody for a market. So that's where I'm kind of looking at my growth.
So focusing on website to start, right?
To start and then see, also because I'm getting approached for some retail too, but I want to make sure that I can make that product for them and do stuff correctly. I don't want to be where I can't have that. Like lychee season was low this year. Lychee's one of my best sellers, so I did not buy enough for the whole year, and I still have some. But so what I'm doing is like we were saying with samples. I don't give out the samples of lychee as much because I know my aunties at Christmas time are going to want their lychee from here, right? And they're some of my best customers. So especially here in Hilo, because if I do the Christmas thing, they expect me to have my poha, my ohelo, and my lychee. So I'm making sure I'm keeping some inventory for them because they make me happy, right? Versus somebody from the Midwest that comes in and is giving me some attitude. So,
No jam for you.
no, okay. I mean, there's some attitude once in a while, and I know I'm from LA. I've got attitude once in a while too. I've learned to be humble here a little bit more, and I listen a lot to my farmers and to the older people, right? Because they know, hey, the weather was like this like 20 years ago, right? Like this was like this. This is, you know. And then I also pay attention and try to work with them because like my Lilikoi guy, well, he had feral cattle one day and wiped him out for the whole year. So it put a dent in me. But I said, when you get back, you know, I could buy something else from you. So, thanks.
So I have two questions, kind of nerdy questions. One's for Letha. I followed your career at the Department of Agriculture, and I always wondered, do you ever regret only sourcing from Kauai? Did that ever hurt you? I mean, I thought, how is she making it? She won't do this, she won't do that. Did that ever hurt your business?
No,
You could find everything you needed.
no.
Okay.
So we were highly seasonal. We were at the whims of our farmers. Sometimes they don't like the way their Lilikoi looks at them, and so they rip it out. Oh, sorry.
But I don't regret it at all because I'm committed to my island and supporting the farmers that are there and encouraging them to grow more. We made it work for us in many instances. I shared with a few people today that Lilikoi was our top seller, Lilikoi curd. And every January, February, March was a low period for our sales, enough where I would get really nervous. And so I figured out a way around it, and what I would do is we did Lilikoi pre-sales. We would sell over $10,000 in Lilikoi curd before the Lilikoi was ripe on the vine. That was a bit of a gamble because that was a lot of money for a small business, but it ran my payroll for a while. And what we did is we kept a big binder, and the deal was as soon as the Lilikoi came on, and it went in order to those individuals. And with global warming and whatnot, the Lilikoi, at least on Kauai, is coming on later and later a lot of times. And so people would start calling us in April, May, June, and they're like, well, what's up with the Lilikoi? I'm like, she's not ready yet. If you would like, we can reimburse you because there's 100 people that want your jars. And they, oh, no, we'll wait. And so fear of loss, we worked that in our favor. And that's the biggest thing I think you all have with, don't worry about it. If you're sourcing from other places, don't worry about it. You can make papaya vanilla, there's always papaya. You can always make papaya vanilla, or papaya chutney, or papaya pineapple, or papaya something. And there's times when you do, or you're just making marmalades. But yeah, you can make it work. It just depends on how you want to live and what hill you want to die on.
Thank you for that. It's and one of the reasons is I'm in marketing, right? I got my marketing team back there, and we tried to promote seal of quality to you for years, and you would just not interested.
We would argue.
I know we would, because you were made in Kauai. That was your label. My other question is for you. Running into some situations where there are some organizations that are grant dependent, and I don't know what to do for them now. Do you have a plan?
that no longer are able, are you saying that they're no longer able to work because, yeah. So it's really similar to like what happened with SNAP Ed funding, right? We had all these educators across Turtle Island and over here, and then now it's, the government decided helping people that need help doesn't matter. And so what we've done at OSU through our leadership, Dr. Allison Myers, is some of us shifted over to family and community health, just family and community health. And we are looking for grants. We have a tiny amount of funding, and rather than being county-wide, we're regional, you know, and I'm statewide. And so it's, I look at all of my partners, because all of my partners, especially in Indian country, you know, we've lost so much funding. And so we have such amazing programs that we're really helping people. And I think that's when community comes in, you know, because we always say, you know, we rise together and we fall together. And that's when the community comes in, you know. And so it's like sometimes, you know, like here, you all got these amazing products. And by the way, I am a taster. And that's like when I go to farmers markets, like I taste, and if it tastes good, I buy it. If I don't get to taste it, I don't want to spend $15 on a jar of jam I can't taste, you know, because I don't know if it's going to be ugly, you know. I mean, it has sugar, so it's good. But other than that, right? And so I look at those things as funding opportunities for a community where it's like, maybe you're holding, you're doing fundraising. Like we'll do a lot of fundraising in community for different things. But at the end of the day, I hope that some of the different non-government grants see the importance of supporting communities that are so vulnerable, and that we need these foods out, because if our foods aren't out, then people don't know about them and they don't know the specialty of them. Did that answer your question? I hope that answered your question somewhat, a little bit, maybe. Yeah, okay. All right.
We're not gonna argue about who get less money for it down in Hawaii. We know the answer.
I can talk loud. I'm gonna put Carla on the spot a little bit. We have got so many products here that have not been tested, that a lot of us would like to be able to put on our shelf. What is step one for starting a process for testing these products?
Carla, can you repeat the question for the camera?
Yes, so the question is, we have a lot of products here that have not been tested. What is the first step we can do to put them in the market? So I would first classify them and kind of look at them. What is the risk level and how much research you need to do with them? Are they low acid? That's a totally different category, and that would require more testing and more funding, just because, again, it goes back to liability. But we don't want to get anybody sick. And unless we know absolutely that product is safe in all the forms, if it's pints, quarts, regular mouth, wide mouth, all the different variations of that product, we wouldn't feel comfortable. I'm sure nobody would feel comfortable not having research behind it. So that's the first thing. Are they low acid? Are they high acid or acidified? That's a different game. So the testing is a little bit different for those products. So it's more based on the pH and water activity for those. But then for low acid, that requires, I was talking to somebody earlier, there's 8 different variables that we look into. So not only pH. pH is one of the things, but it really doesn't matter at this point if you have low acid, because pH is not controlling anything, right? So identifying what are the products, what are the priorities, and how can we test them, as far as what type of equipment do you need, what expertise do you need. I would highly recommend having a process authority that could work with you and guide you and help you do the testing. There's a lot of math involved. There's a lot of different equations. Of course, we have softwares that help us collect the data, and there's thousands of rows of data. And how do you analyze that data? Not only temperature and time combination, because that has been established a long, long time ago for Clostridium botulinum, so we know what that is. Like, we know what is the time and temperature combination to reduce 99.9% of Clostridium botulinum spores. So that's established, but then knowing how to factor in different factors, if you will, like viscosity, liquids to solids ratio, head space, cooling, processing. And because home canning is so different from commercial canning, the equations that we use to calculate the process is different. And so it takes so long to come up to temperature, then it takes X number of minutes to process and then to cool down. And so I think understanding what are the critical factors for the product that you are wanting to validate is crucial. So having a process authority working with you to determine, okay, viscosity is really critical for this. Oh no, viscosity is not. Now we're looking at solids to liquid, ratio, or we're looking at the acid that you're adding and how much is that, what is the concentration of that acid? Is it citric acid? Is it vinegar? Those are very different. They have not just the pH, but there's something else, is the strength of the acid, the pKa of that acid. So working with someone that can walk you through that recipe, what you're trying to do, we can make things safe all day long, but the question is it gonna taste good? And that's a different question, because there's a balance between food safety and food quality. They have to work together, they have to walk together. And so what are some hurdles that you can combine to make it taste good, but also make it safe? So I would say work with someone that has the knowledge, the expertise, that can guide you through the process, has the equipment and the, I guess, the expertise to develop the process itself. Everything that goes behind the scenes until somebody reads a recipe, step one, do this, 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 and it looks so easy, right? But there's a lot of work done behind it. And you have done a lot of that, so yeah, thank you. I don't know if that answers your question.
It brings it out in the public, the conversation.
Yeah, okay.
So as a follow-up, Carla, to that question though, is we don't have anyone here that has that expertise that could lend it to us and that knowledge, which is why we were looking for a National Center Home Food Preservation to help us to do that testing and to get safe recipes, be it a tropical section or whatnot. And there are some very, very specific recipes that people want, things that are indigenous to the Hawaiians that are here, things that we know that we grow a lot of fruits, and mostly fruits, but fruits that may act similarly to, or vegetables that may be similar to some of the things in So Easy to Preserve that has been tested, but they're different properties. There's a different vegetable, like, I think I spoke to you before, ulu is breadfruit. Do we treat ulu like a potato, or do we treat it like a fruit? Do we pickle it? Do we pressure can it, which turns into mush? I mean, there's, you're right, quality versus safety has to be looked at as well too. But we don't even know where to begin. How do we do taro? Do we add, do we pickle it? And those are some of the things that are not part of the So Easy to Preserve that we can follow. And so that's where we're saying, are there other places we can go that we can seek help from?
What are you making?
I would like to preserve it for my pantry.
So shelf-stable, low acid.
Yes.
So, okay.
I don't want to make jam.
Sure. Have you contacted the Hawaii Food Lab? No, the Hawaii Food Lab. For lab testing?
Perhaps. I have a spreadsheet of people that I've contacted.
So
over the years.
that would be, like, if I was in Hawaii and I wanted anything to be tested for shelf stability and safety, that's what we did with our products. And I way overspent the first 5 years I was in business because I was scared, because we did low sugar. And so I had them popping jars every month, and it was like $100 a pop. And then I had like 8 different varieties. But if you were to send them a case of your ulu, they'll pop one right away and they'll do all the testing, and since yours is no acid, low acid, they're gonna do a lot of other tests, so it might even be more expensive, but you're only testing one thing. And if it comes out where it's something you're wanting to take to the market, okay, you'll earn your money back really fast. So, for your pantry, then.
What I would like to be able to do
Yeah.
is a recipe.
Sure.
That can be followed, so that all of you who have a backyard apple tree can preserve that and put it in your hand.
And if you have your lab results, if you were able to do it for like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and you'll get your bar there, and they'll tell you, and then you can say, this is good for 9 months in your pantry, following my instructions, because that's exactly what you sent to the lab. That's where I would start.
We have a lab here at Waimea now.
And for
But that also, but that means that the onus is really on us, me as an individual, oh my goodness, to front all the numbers. I mean, all the monies to do that, because it's a product that I want to do. And what Chris is saying is that she just wants it for her pantry, but she wants to be able to disseminate it as it's a food safe product that we could do. So, you know, we're kind of in a catch-22 in a sense that, yes, I know that we have a food lab here. Yes, they could do some of our testing, but we're looking at essentially more on a national level, not just a Hawaiian level, and we're looking at maybe there can be something to be considered by the University of Georgia, the extension or whatever, to consider in the book at some point, because the survey that you solicited was Pacific Northwest. I wonder how much of that was Alaska and Hawaii, and which is why I had asked you if you could share that data. Because if it's California, they don't do a whole lot of canning, but Midwest we do. So.
That's a whole nother, what you're talking about is a whole nother story. Georgia's not touching us.
And so that's the tropics, whether that's Hawaii, Guam, wherever we are in Southeast Asia, making their own cookbook and their own canning book, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a completely different beast. And I think even counting on Georgia to do that for us is something that's maybe not appropriate. That's something we need to take on ourselves.
What about Florida?
Oh, in Florida? Well, no, I think, woo! I think it's something we take on ourselves. I don't want Georgia telling me how to cook my ulu, because I'm getting mine right off the tree. My lilikoi is fresh. My whatever it is that I'm picking, my pineapple, it's special to Southeast Asia or to the Pacific Rim or whatnot. So I just feel that I understand this whole funding thing and whatnot. Like, we always want things for less, but I think it's something that's not poorly to look upon as developing our own preserving situation here in the South Pacific. Yes.
As the only UH person on this panel right now, and not even from Extension, but I think there is, the Agribusiness Development Corporation gave 10 positions, or is funding 10 positions with CTAR, which has been recently renamed from the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources to the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resilience. And so I think there is a recognition, and maybe Sharon can jump in at this point, that there needs to be some sort of backfilling of some erosion that has occurred, in Extension or just in this area where we need more expertise to be able to advance in any kind of preserving. Now you just got to make the distinction whether you're doing it for yourself at home or at a cottage level, because remember we're talking about FSMA and then GMPs, and then when HACCPs kick in and liability kick in, it's very complicated, and that's the reason why you want to go get training, right, and get ahead of the curve to go learn about where you want to place your food business. Maybe you don't want to be at a revenue level where all these rules kick in and these costs kick in. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that you should ever do anything food unsafe. Food safety should be number one no matter what you're doing. Like VP here didn't want to eat the thing after 3 days that's sitting in your truck, right? It doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter whether it's cottage or whatever. You just don't want to kill anybody. No, that's for real. Right? So, all these kinds, it's not that simple, people. There's all these rules and regulations, and you will be doing yourself a service if you get out there, get some relatively cheap training, right? Relatively, it's better than paying attorneys, right? If you need a third-party verification to go into Costco or Whole Foods or whatever it is like that, you want to know what that costs as you are over here while you're building, right? Maybe you don't want to go there because your expenses will go exceed what your revenues. You should have that plan so you can make informed, well thought out decisions about where you want to place essentially your business, right? So this is very, in my opinion, very good discussion. To this nice lady's, point about, hey, I'm just trying to do a good thing, right? I think people should learn how to can at home safely. And shouldn't there be a public recipe, right, that people can follow just to can the stuff and stick it in their home pantry? I agree with you, but that really is a public good, right? Meaning that some public agency really should take on that. I hate to say, I think it should be extension, I think it should be extension. So that it's for the benefit of all, right? It's not a commercial activity, right, at scale. It's not a cottage level farmers market business activity. So just where all the training on, how complex it can be, to the extent that you folks learn this ahead of time, right? And be the better for it so that you can navigate, right, placement of your business activity, your value added activity, so it benefits you and the community. That's the learning that I would say engage in now, right? But back to your question, right? Well, I think it's a public good type of service that some public agency needs to step up and do, and then put it out there, right? And so I'm sorry I don't have the answer to that.
Well, it's the National Center of Home Food Preservation.
Home food preservation. Or is there a national center? Is that you? Oh, well, they just want you to take care of Hawaii and the Pacific too, right? With respect to Polynesian and tropical. Yeah, well, yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Here, I'll give it to Jane.
Being the CTAR person here, who's resilience, the resilience side of CTAR, I'm 4-H, we want to partner with her so we can bring stuff back. So right now we're partnering with Ken and Jane to do a junior master food preserver, and through that we want to get those recipes bona fide. I've already got permission to take their junior curriculum and modify it to add our tropical fruits and things like that to it. But we got to bona fide those recipes. And then I have Rachel Novotny, Jean Butel, Casey Ho, that all want to work with me to help get the nutrition side squared away, because they're working really hard to get tropical fruits and our local things added to the USDA food system. Right. So they're working hard on that. Maui, the Maui administrator.
Just so you know, we're doing something, right? Positive. So on Maui, okay, no, I'm just going to take 20 seconds. We have a new extension director on the Maui campus for CTAR. His name is Dr. Surenja Dara. He's an entomologist by training, but he's sending his team over to Maui Food Innovation Center. And Nancy Oki, who I've worked with before, who's your colleague.
She's on my team.
Right. So this is very encouraging. So this should be hopeful for this group in that it seems that there's all these activities that you're learning about right now as we speak that are moving us forward, right? That's what it seems like to me.
And for the record, it was Nancy Ooki and Heather Greenwood that came up with the resilience idea. And I'm sure Schindler School of Business was very happy.
So this just this just attests to how important it is for us to do these kinds of conferences and bring all of the people together into different entities and the questions. It's great. We're going because in our own ways we are walking different paths, but in another way we are walking the same path. And that's where the collaboration, the cooperation, and the knowledge of sharing is really, really critical and important. I mean, we are islands, and even Tina's from Oahu. Half the time we don't know what Oahu is doing when we're on the big island. Other people came from Maui. I have no clue. I mean, Kauai, forget it. So,
You couldn't find your volcano yesterday.
so I think it does really speak to the importance of. I mean, all of you, as I said earlier today, I'm really, I was really excited to see and meet all of the alumni that's even here. Because we have some of us are still canning and, doing it for business. Some of us are just doing it for friends and family. We've gone a different tack. But between 2012 to 2025, that's 13 years. And we saw people from pretty much every class, every year. And that speaks for itself as how passionate you've been to keep in contact. And we want to continue to keep in contact as things develop. We want you to keep your best because, as Carla said, one of her surveys, family and friends is one of the highest methods of communication and information. The second was social media. But our family and friends, what we give, what we tell to people, and even when you go to farmer's market, with all of these rules and stuff like that, if you want to just test, you could do it nonchalantly and just say, "Oh, that's really nice. Do you by chance know the pH of what you've made?" And they'll go, "pH? What's that?" Well, okay, that's up to you to back away, or not. It's your choice. But it's not a threat. What's the pH of this? And I would tell you my dehydration. I don't need to test for pH. I need to test for moisture content. So I mean, so I'll hand it back to Ken for a wrap up official because he opened it.
No, you could have done that. Yeah. Anyway, well, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to editorialize on anything other than what I've already said.